I myself have been on the lookout for answers for decades. Anxiety versus intuition. How do you tell them apart? Let's go. Hi and welcome to another episode of Notes from a Desi Girl. My name is Manasi and let's just leave it at that. I have an SUV test, if you will, to tell anxiety apart from intuition. Go with me here. I don't always like making my insights into a three-prong analysis or five ways you can do this and anything. But if I don't do this, someone else will, because a lot of the people who are good at marketing often make it into these snappy phrases or acronyms that you can catch on to. So here you have it. It's an SUV test. Okay? Let's start with a few examples. A few months ago, my puppy was playing around and he kind of not bit me, but he was getting mouthy and his tooth scratched a part on my leg and the skin broke open. It was not bleeding heavily, but it was still a wound nonetheless. Now I was fine. He scratched me a bit, and for the most part, I just washed those wounds away. I maybe put some, was it rubbing alcohol on it, and maybe a bandage, and that was fine, right? It healed and everything was fine. This one was a little deeper, however, and around a week ago, or that same week, I was rewatching Gilmore Girls because it was so cozy out there. I love doing that. And in one of those episodes, I think one of the main characters got a small cut. And someone, her friend or her mom said, "Oh, yeah, you should get a shot or something, otherwise, you'll get tetanus." I am not even sure exactly what that dialogue was, but it was on the lines of they said the word tetanus, I believe, that you should get a shot for it. And I'm sitting here when that happened, like an hour later, I got this really bad feeling in my stomach, like usual. And I was like, what if I get tetanus? I didn't wash this with soap or water. I didn't put rubbing alcohol right away. I didn't even realize that it was a deep cut that skin had broken. I had to look at it like 10 minutes later and be like, oh, wait, that's a wound, all right. And so I took care of it. But I was like, hang on, what are the chances that I get tetanus now? And I went on a spiral. It was the weekend, so my nearby CVS was closed. And then my husband, we were like, okay, let's go 72 hours later. That should still be fine. Let's get you a shot. Because when was the last time you had a shot? I don't remember. Probably like before my first job in Belgium. So probably 5 years ago, but I didn't have any records for it. So I went on this spiral. I was so incredibly anxious. This is incident one. Okay, I went on this spiral. I was really worried. I was like, and I needed to fix whatever it was right now. And I was actually genuinely worried that I was going to get tetanus and that something life threatening was going to happen to me from this little injury that I didn't take care of right away. Incident 2. A year ago, when the visa appointments for H1B people were not that gate kept, I'm not sure how much of this I can like say out loud, so I'm just going to say it like this. When you want to renew your driver's license, it is already approved, right? But say it expires on this date, you just have to go and renew the already approved license, right? Stamping your passport, which is already approved, is the equivalent of that. It's just another ID card, the way a driver's license is an ID card for a lot of people. So, the equivalent of renewing my driver's license is something I am supposed to do by leaving the country I'm living in and going to my home country, going to my birthplace, renewing it there instead, and then re entering the country I'm living in. That's just the bureaucratic system. That's how it is. Let's get into it later. And to renew it in my birthplace, I need an appointment for that, but those appointments were not available they have not been available for quite a while now. Back then, like 8 months ago, they kind of were available. So we had planned, like, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna get this stamped, and after that is stamped, I'm gonna apply for a visa to travel to Europe because I used to live in Belgium. It's my home. My friend who was gonna have a kid, I wanted to be there for her and everything. So I had planned it out like that. Now I lived in Belgium, right? But around 8 months ago, I started having these visions in my head, very like cute visions where I was wearing my favorite light blue hoodie and I was getting onto a bus in Germany And I had this change, like a lot of €1 or €2 change from when I lived in Belgium. I was having visions of a German bus. I was having visions of me interacting with the bus driver saying thank you in German because I speak a little German. Why Germany? And this happened a lot. Like I was carrying this book and I was, a main character and my hair was like flowy and like these bouncy Hollywood kind of curls because I like that. And I was this main character in a bus reading a book, and it was a German bus. It was in Germany. This is a very random vision to have, right? Especially considering I lived in Belgium for like 6, 7 years. So, why Germany? What is up with this vision? And it kept happening. It kept coming to me a few times at least, like for 2 to 3 weeks straight. It was pretty random. And around that time, I got a phone call from my mom that my dad got a job in Germany. He did not want to retire, he wanted to keep working, and that he was going to move to Germany. So, around that time, when the whole appointment stamping thing wasn't going to be gate kept, my mind started racing towards possibilities. Like, no one told me. I didn't have an inkling of what was going to happen with my dad's career. I had no idea. He just applied somewhere and it was kind of going on in the background, nothing was sure. So they didn't say anything to anyone. But he was gonna move to Germany, which means that vision of mine of me getting onto a bus and interacting with the bus driver with the perfect change that I had for the bus ride, that could have happened. It can't happen now anymore because I'm trapped and I'm not allowed to go anywhere because I can't do the equivalent of renewing my driver's license, which is already approved and everything, but I can't do that. So that's a different story. But then I thought about this tetanus incident and this bus in Germany incident. What was different? I was driving the other day and it hit me, there was stimulus in the tetanus incident. I had seen a TV show or a dialogue that someone said, and something like my mind is an antenna, it picked up on that cue, and something started happening inside me where that little cue turned into a big story because that's what overthinkers do, that's what creative people do, that's what anxious people do. And this was in stark contrast with that me in German bus incident because that no one told me that. I had not a single stimulus from anywhere for it. In fact, I lived in Belgium. So, if anything, I should be getting visions of me going into a Belgian bus because I used to do that all the time for years. The first part of our SUV principle is S is stimulus. Do you have any stimulus from anywhere? Can you trace it back in the past 2 weeks? A word that you read, or a phrase from an article, or a phrase that a friend said to you on the phone where they were facing something? Like, this friend of mine is pre diabetic and he casually mentioned it in conversation. The next thing you know, next week I am cutting out every grain of sugar from my diet, and that was a little unnatural for me. Because why? Because what if I am pre-diabetic? Where did it come from? It came from my friend having said something. This incident about me worrying that I had tetanus, it came from somewhere. It wasn't random enough. So the first thing is stimulus. If you can trace it back in any way to a time or a place or a word that you heard, then that most likely is anxiety, not an intuition. The second one, SUV, the second part is urgency. When that thing happened, when the sugar thing happened, I was like, oh my god, what if I'm pre diabetic, right? Like, my parents aren't, but my grandma was diabetic, just the one. And it's not like I've had any sign of it necessarily, but I didn't do my blood test, like my yearly doctor's checkup. I hadn't done that for a year and a half. So it was, I guess, an open loop. I didn't really know. And my anxiety filled it with information like, you know what, you're pre-diabetic. You have this, you have that. It filled it with all these things, but that stimulus came from somewhere. And when I wanted to do something about it, I was like, oh, no sugar at all anymore, which by the way is not a good idea, not sustainable. But when that happened, I was like, so urgently and just jumping up and down, like, no sugar at all. And when the tetanus thing happened, I was searching frantically about CVS in my area and if anything is open at Sunday night, or if there's any doctor's appointment I can get on Monday morning, 24 hours later, just to talk about this issue. I couldn't be contained, basically. Everything, all of these thoughts, all of these actions that I wanted to take came at me with an urgency that could not be contained. So, the second thing that is in stark contrast with that Germany bus incident is that one was pretty random. I imagined it for 5 minutes and then I went about my way. There was no urgency there. But in these incidents, there was an urgency there, and it was, when I thought about it, I was like, okay, that is a telltale sign. If something is making you impatient, it's bringing out the worst in you because you just can't wait for the result, or you can't wait to take the next step towards this, most likely that is anxiety, and that is not a gut feeling or an intuition. The third part of the SUV principle, V, is victim. Think about it. In these incidents where it was clearly anxiety, I was a victim there, right? Like the things are happening to me. I was gonna be in a problem. I was going to be in a situation. I was going to be a victim. But in this German bus incident, just this vision of mine, I was not a victim. I was just chill. Like, it was like that. I was a witness, not a victim. Okay? So every time something has happened to me after realizing this SUV three prongs of how to distinguish anxiety versus intuition, I come back to that because that is what anxiety does. It puts you as someone who's going through everything, and a lot of the times we are going through something. It's not, you don't have to brush it off and just play it strong every single time. Sometimes we just want to cry. But if it is coming at you with this, it is all entirely just about you might want to compare it to the other times you didn't feel like that, and you might want to trace it back to a stimulus and the urgency with which you feel that you are about to be a victim. Because I can tell you from personal experience, from having put myself through an experimentation about an incident I'll talk about, that this SUV principle has worked. The reason anxiety, when it happens, when you feel like you are seeing the future and that this just might as well be intuition, it's very dangerous because it's not that you're going to lose the ability to have an intuition about something. You're not going to lose your gut feeling necessarily by separating what anxiety is from what gut feeling is. It's just that you don't want to waste your precious energy and thinking process something like this, do you? No, no one does. That is why it's important for me to make this episode. Now, about that example I talked about, I applied this principle in the following way. A few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, my husband was gonna go out for a conference and he was gonna stay overnight in another city. I hate when that happens. And my puppy, who is 5 months old, he, for the first time, was going to live life where dad was not going to be at home for a few days. This is not, it's not nice because he really loves us and he really loves it when dad comes home from work. So I was like, and around that time, I was watching this show Designated Survivor, and no spoilers or anything. But in one of these episodes, quite unexpectedly, one of the main characters was, with the Secret Service and everything, and she was just going towards somewhere, right? This is a White House based show, and she was going somewhere. And she got in an accident, and in a blink of an eye, she was gone. You could kind of see it coming because the trope when one of the lovable characters is about to die in a series, you always have them leaving a voice note to someone because they can't reach the person they want to talk to on phone. So leave a voicemail like, "Hey, this is it, and I love you" or something. I was like, "Oh my god, she's gonna die," and sure enough, she did. 5 minutes later, this happened, and 2 days later, my husband had to travel, and every time he's traveling or something, I'm always like generally worried that I'm gonna lose him, because you're always worried that you're gonna lose your loved ones or that they're gonna die, because that is the worst thing that could happen. But this time, my feeling was really intense, and it was with an urgency. Like I'm sitting my husband down and like, hey man, if you die, I swear to you, I will be so mad at you forever. And we were just talking. I was like, just be careful. Just look out. What if you die? And then I thought to myself, hang on. I do always I am afraid that he's gonna, but this time it's a little intense. What's that about? And then I thought to myself, can I apply the SUV principle here? S, stimulus? Yes. 2 days ago, I had the stimulus that one of my beloved characters on this show, Designated Survivor, literally just got off. She died randomly in a car accident. That is definitely a stimulus. Second, yes, it was quite urgent. The way I was sitting him down and being like, "You can't die, please, man, don't do this." Like that is urgency. And the third, it's I'm not sure if I can precisely say that I was a victim in this case, but losing someone means that it's happening to you, not that you're a witness to whatever is going on. So, this is my first hand experience of applying this principle, and after a while, I was like, I'm just gonna trust this. This is data, right? He'll be fine. I said that even though I didn't believe it in the moment. But here we are, and he's fine. Like he didn't die or anything, so we're fine, you know. But that SUV principle really helped. And now the next time something like this happens, I'm gonna apply this principle again, because the more I do it, the more I'm gonna get data about whether this works. And the more data you have, the more your instinct gets stronger at being able to discern whether something is anxiety. The feelings are exactly the same. You think that anxiety and intuition are exactly the same, but the more you know what to look for, the more you can discern. It's incredibly subtle. If you can, then all this data you have, it just means that you won't be eaten alive by anxiety the next time this happens. That's very important for people, especially because anxiety is not something you say goodbye to. The way the world keeps working, anxiety only goes up, right? It's an uphill battle. It's a roller coaster that only goes up. So we need to take just anything that we can, any piece of advice, any little phrase or an experience from someone, to be able to discern it and like not say goodbye to it, but be like, hey man, I know, Mr. Anxiety, you're here, but you know what, I'm not afraid of you, even if you punch me in the face. Like, let's have tea, you know what I'm saying? Like Moriarty and Sherlock, I guess. Okay, there is one last nuance that I want to talk about. A year ago, my grandma, she passed away. And I was here, I couldn't travel to go to her funeral or anything. Again, the visa and the stamping and the issues. But before I got the news, that night, I had a tiny little like spat, not even a disagreement, a tiny spat with my cousin, like my brother. And again, it was not a disagreement, it was nothing. But before sleeping that night, I don't know why, but I cried so uncontrollably over that spat, or so I thought. It was this little thing where he was touching my face, like doing the pulling my cheeks basically, because he's like, oh, you have such round cheeks. And he used to do that as a kid. And I'm like, hey man, don't do that because my skin is incredibly acne prone. If you touch it, I will have acne. And while the acne or whatever, the pimple goes away, the hyperpigmentation from it will last me like 6 months because brown skin. So I was like, don't do that. And he was like, fine, I won't do that. Right? Cool. But then why was I crying so much in the middle of the night? That I was in PMSing, I checked, right? It was pretty random. I was crying a lot. And literally, what I did was, when I was crying, my mom and me haven't had a fight in a long time, because now that I'm married, my husband is the buffer. We don't feel the need to fight that much. It's just we're friends now, I guess. But that night, for literally no reason, I picked a huge fight with her. I don't know why. I sent her a lot of messages that I was angry at her about something. I don't even remember what. In the past, like when I was very young, if I had done that, she would reply to me saying this, and I'm like, no, no, that. Right? We are bold. We will hash it out. But this time she didn't say anything. And literally a few hours later, like early morning, I don't know why, I woke up and she's like, Grandma passed away today, by the way. And I was like, I felt really silly. Of course, I felt really sorry, but then I felt kind of sad because now I can never look at a bowl or a packet of polo and not think of her. Right? She's whatever. it's a big story, it's a long story, and I don't want to get into it. But she was my grandma, and I will miss her. And it's my parents will also miss her. They were in hospice care for so long for her, and we thought she was improving, but she wasn't. But then it was like up and down, improvement, but no, but spike and dip and down. It was going on and on, and people thought that she might never be the same, but that she might kind of live, and she did it. So when I got that message, I was like, now that I think about it, I can't really place it in the SUV thought process. This was an isolated incident, and what I mean is, a lot of the times our anxiety or intuition, for people who really care a lot, for me especially, I want to use my superpower in gut feeling, if you will, to predict, if I can, if something bad is going to happen to my loved ones. At the end of the day, that is all I care about. I want to be able to foresee it, and if I can tell them from this feeling I get, like, hey, just be careful when you get into the car today, or I don't know, something like that. What if I could avoid a potential accident for them? Right? I want to use my gut feeling for things like these. So, the death of a loved one, which is one of the worst things that I can imagine happening to me, or rather, the worst thing, that, as it turns out, might not very cleanly fall into the SUV principle. And I want to acknowledge that. I will say though that this crying was pretty random, it was out of nowhere. I don't know if there was any stimulus. I don't know if I was a victim there, but I was just crying a lot. And this isolated incident, I can't yet make sense of it, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention it, because there is nuance to these things that we talk about with anxiety versus intuition, because it's all going in the head and the way you feel in your stomach. So I wanted to mention that. But apart from these isolated one-timey incidents, like our loved ones not being here anymore, the little incidents in life that have the full potential to spike our anxiety and ruin our day or something, try it out. Seriously, it helped me with my husband before flying. I was like, this is, I'm sure that I'm just going to say it out loud, this is anxiety. The SUV thing is working here. Forget about it. And he was fine at the end of the few, like 2 3 days later. He was fine. Everything was fine. So I'm not someone who tells someone how to live their life. I'm not the girl who says, hey man, do this and you will be more productive. I don't like to be like that. I don't want to make episodes like that. But this one, it helped me. And if there's someone out there who has always struggled with this, try it. Try it and let me know. Now I have a meeting, so I really have to go. I kind of wanted to finish this within 15 minutes, if you will. I hope I have. And let me know if this worked for you, if it helped you, if you collected a lot of data, and if you got better at discerning what we talked about today. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Bye.